This is Jared Horak for the RunawayHorse.com. I'm back with my second video this week. I just recapped the Kentucky Oaks in my first video. I'm going to recap the Kentucky Derby in this video, and then I'm going to do some Preakness handicapping in my third video that I have scheduled this week. Again, just like I said in my first video, I'd like to thank everybody for watching my channel. Last week, for that last video that I posted, the Kentucky Derby final analysis, I got almost 19,000 views. My Kentucky Derby 2022 most likely 5 winners. We got almost 11,000 views there. And I just want to thank everybody for watching and supporting my channel, purchasing my full cards, my Triple Crown full cards. Had good business this year, had some success in those. I mentioned my Kentucky Oaks Day success in my Kentucky Oaks package that I did for the stakes races on Oaks Day last Friday. And then for Kentucky Derby Saturday, I'll get into my highlights in just a minute. And then the super thanks button is now enabled on my channel. So if you'd like to support my channel in that way, feel free to do that as well. And now I'll look back at my highlights for the Kentucky Derby day. And for that full card, for the 14 races, I had 6 top choice winners there. Congressman in race 1, I had him on top 9-2 with the Exacta. I had Creative Minister, a horse that is going to be running in the Preakness Stakes. He was my top choice at 7-2. Had the trifecta that paid almost 300 in that race. My best bet, Speak of the Devil, won a turf stakes race for trainer Chad Brown. Had the Exacta and trifecta as well. Obligatory for trainer Bill Mott, stakes winner. Had that one on top at 7-2. So we had some nice price winners. They weren't chalks. They were paying well to win. Nice mid-price value contenders on the win end. Had the trifecta in the Jackie's Warrior race. I had some doubles and pick threes as well. And then the final 2 races of the day, I had Candy Tycoon on top at 6-1, and then Strobe, an impressive first-timer, winning the finale at Churchill Downs. Had the Exacta and trifecta there. So I had a lot of success overall on that full card, and then my Kentucky Oaks Stakes Day as well, having that 50-cent pick 5. All stakes pick 5 paid more than $2,200. So hopefully you purchased that analysis and you had some success on both of those Oaks and Derby days. Now this year I'm going to be covering Black Eyed Susan Day, the day before the Preakness. I'm going to cover the stakes races there in a product, and then my annual Preakness Stakes full card will be available Preakness week at therunawayhorse.com on my sales page. Last year I had the Superfecta in the Preakness Stakes, a good payout there, and let's see if we can have some more success, build on that success from Kentucky Derby Day, even though I did not have the Kentucky Derby. And probably a lot of people didn't have the Kentucky Derby because the horse that won, Rich Strike, I don't think anybody saw that one coming. He got in from the also eligible list when trainer Dwayne Lucas decided to scratch his horse Ethereal Road. Rich Strike snuck in there, and I don't think anyone could have envisioned the pace that was going to happen. Now, I can see how people thought maybe the pace would heat up a bit, but I don't think anybody saw an opening quarter in 21.78 seconds in a 20-horse field. Now, the interesting thing is typically the jockeys that ride in the Kentucky Derby that are based in the U.S., they would never have fractions like that. You would rarely see that kind of pace meltdown. But it's interesting that the 2 horses coming in from the UAE Derby, Summer is Tomorrow and Crown Pride, and ridden by riders that don't typically ride in this country or in the Kentucky Derby, they went out there in that opening quarter. They were first and second through that opening quarter in 21.78 seconds. And that basically wiped out anybody that was forwardly placed. The top 7 horses that were close to that pace, the best that a horse finished, if they were in the top 7 after that opening quarter, you have to go back to Zozos. He finished 10th. Everybody else, back of the pack, this race completely collapsed. And Rich Strike really worked out a good trip. Now, he did have a good pedigree. Keen Ice, the sire. Now, Keen Ice is one I liked when I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and American Pharoah was going for the Triple Crown, and he was training at Churchill Downs prior to the Belmont Stakes that year. Another horse was training there, Keen Ice. So we went to see American Pharoah have some workouts prior to the Belmont Stakes, and we were able to catch Keen Ice working as well, and we saw that he was doing well. And then that year, I liked him to finish on the board in that Belmont Stakes, and was able to have that trifecta because Keen Ice ran a quality race and hit the board that day. But Rich Strike definitely had the pedigree, a Calumet farm horse even though his class looked very suspect. He was 1 for 7 lifetime. He broke his maiden in a maiden claiming 30,000. But that win was a big win at Churchill Downs. And then he won the Kentucky Derby from off the pace, rallying from 18th place to nail Epicenter late, coming up the inside. It kind of reminded you of Mind That Bird. You could see a horse closing inside. That same year, I had Pioneer of the Nile that year, wondering who is that inside. Mind That Bird was the horse. And now this year, the same thing. Epicenter was my second choice. Zandon was my top choice. And I had those boxed in an exacta. I was thinking I might have a chance to hit the trifecta and the superfecta. And then along came Rich Strike at 80-1 to spoil the party. But deserving win, very good ride there. That was that kind of closing ride you see in the Kentucky Derby when you see these big upsets. It's not always the best closer on paper that gets the job done, but it's the most opportune horse that sits the right trip. And that was Rich Strike. Good ride by Sonny Leon. Was able to weave his way through traffic. That's what you see when you see these pace collapses and you need to do in these 20-horse fields. And he did just that. And he was able to come up the inside and defeat Epicenter. Now, Epicenter ran a winning race here. If you liked Epicenter heading into this race, it's just too bad you didn't cash, because he probably ran the best overall race of any horse in this race. He was in 8th place early. I mentioned the top 7 finished nowhere. So he was right behind those horses. And he's a horse from Louisiana. His form there, he'd like to be on or very near the early lead. And this time he had to rally from 8th place. And he made that big move from 8th to 5th after 6 furlongs to then to the lead in the stretch. And it looked like he was going to win. But then Zandon, my top choice, was closing. He was sitting a decent mid-pack closing trip. And he was coming after Epicenter. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a showdown between Epicenter and Zandon. And Epicenter was able to fend off Zandon and hold him off, but he could not hold off Rich Strike. So that combination of that opening quarter, those fast fractions, took their toll on Epicenter late. Nothing wrong with that effort at all, as the beaten favorite, finishing less than a length behind the winner, less than a length in front of Zandon, and Zandon was clear of the rest. Now, I'm sure if Flavien Prat aboard Zandon would have known that the opening quarter was going to be 21 seconds and change, he would have been back with Rich Strike back in 18th place. But he was trying to get decent mid-pack position, and he did that. And he ran a quality race. He just wasn't good enough late, finishing a clear 3rd. Simplification was the next one. He was one that I liked as a long shot that I used underneath in trifectas and superfectas, even threw him in some small exactas, and he ran a quality race. He rallied from 15th place to finish 4th. Now, a horse like this, he's very versatile, and he always just tries so hard. And sometimes he's able to get the job done, like the Fountain of Youth and the Macho Man Stakes. And then against tougher company in the Great Runwanks, he's able to at least hit the board. Mo Donegal, and he ran a quality closing race. He was from 19th place after breaking slow from the inside post. Breaking slow did not hurt him here. What hurt him mostly was going 10 wide at least in the stretch and trying to rally. He was finishing decent late, but he just didn't have that kick like Rich Strike did. Some other horses, Barber Road, Tawny Port, Smile Happy made a middle move. He could not sustain it. I mentioned some of the horses that were on the pace, like Zozos. Taibo was chasing that pace. He got tired. He didn't have enough experience. Not surprised at all that he didn't run well. Classic Causeway, he wanted to be up on the pace, but he wasn't able to. Crown Pride. Messier was another one that was up on the pace. He had the lead. He could not sustain that. White Abario never really got involved. Charge It was chasing the pace. And the Summer Is Tomorrow ended up last. He set those ridiculous fractions. So that's a look at all the horses from the Kentucky Derby and how that played out. Very surprising winner. And we've seen this song and dance multiple times over the years. We've seen horses, big long shots in a pace collapse, then come back after they win the Kentucky Derby, come back in the Preakness 2 weeks later, and they do not duplicate that effort because the pace scenario is completely different. You have a slightly shorter distance, and then you have some fresh horses, so there's a lot of things to overcome, and Rich Strike's going to have to overcome a lot again to win the Preakness Stakes, because now looking at the field right now, there's a possible field of 11. Creative Minister for trainer Ken McPeak. He would have to supplement this horse for $150,000. He plans to do that. He's only run 3 times. He exits back-to-back 2-turn victories on dirt, and he's improving. And Creative ministered around well in his 7 furlong debut closing. He's got enough positional speed to work out a trip. Lightly raced on the improve. He's a fresh face that you can consider. Early voting for Chad Brown. Now he looks like a genius after not running in the Kentucky Derby. He had enough points. He considered running in the Derby. He opted not to. This horse was very lightly raced with only 3 starts. He has good early pressing speed, and he would have been a pace casualty almost guaranteed in the Kentucky Derby. So the fact that Chad Brown made a wise decision to wait for the Preakness, he's definitely a contender that could finish somewhere in the top 3 if the pace scenario is light. And looking at the 11 horses, I think we're going to have a moderate pace, and early voting should make his presence felt throughout. Epicenter, they galloped him earlier today, and they said, we are going to run in the Preakness. He's going to be your Preakness favorite, and he looks like the best 3-year-old in the country overall right now. He's been very good since late December last year, throughout the winter and then into the spring. He's been one of the top, if not the top 3-year-old in the country, and he has early pressing speed, and if he can just maintain form, and just run his normal speed figure, he could very well win the Preakness Stakes. Rattle and roll for Ken McPeek. He's possible. He was an also eligible scratch in the Kentucky Derby, but he's a closer, and he has not been as good this year as he was as a 2-year-old. Rich Strike is going to try to have lightning strike twice. We'll see if he can do it again. He's a big late runner, and the shorter distance is not going to help him, and the lack of pace on paper is not going to help him. And I can't imagine we're going to see a speed duel after what we just saw in the Kentucky Derby. A Secret Oath for trainer D. Wayne Lucas. I mentioned her in my Kentucky Oaks recap video. She ran a quality race there, outside trip. She has enough positional speed to keep the leaders in her sights. They would probably want to stalk outside in the Preakness if they opt to go there. Shake 'em Loose, a local horse, was 3rd in the Tessio Stakes, probably going to be a bit up against it. Simplification is one. If you're playing exotics in any race, you got to consider this horse because he just tries so hard every time. He just has been showing up, and he just dances every dance. He's been going in all the Kentucky Derby points races, and he just goes there and he tries hard. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finished somewhere in the top 4, just like he did in the Kentucky Derby. Skippy Longstocking was 3rd in the Wood Memorial last time out. He's probably a bit up against it for Saffie Joseph Jr. Same goes for Un Ojo. That one, he did upset the Rebel Stakes at 50-1 earlier this year. Arkansas Derby, he was 8th. He's probably going to not be quite up to par for the Preakness Stakes. But hey, after what we just saw in the Kentucky Derby, can we really say any of these horses can't win? Probably not. And then Zandon still possible for the Preakness Stakes for trainer Chad Brown. We'll see if he decides to go there. Now, he's one that Chad Brown doesn't believe he can get 1.5 miles. Maybe he has a little bit distance limitations after the Derby, but you really can't say that after that super fast pace, and he wasn't embarrassed at all finishing 3rd. And he's one that can at least sit mid-pack and has a decent closing kick. And Zandon would be a solid top 3 contender if they decide to run in the Preakness. So that's a look at the 11 horses that are pointing to the Preakness right now. And I'll be back, obviously, next week. I'm going to do a lot of Preakness coverage. I'm going to try to get out the Pimlico and cover some backstretch stuff and get out there for Preakness week a few days if I have time. A lot of full card work and some other work for HRN that I have to do. But if I have some time, I'm going to get out there and try to get some live coverage of the 2022 Preakness Stakes. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this content. Again, my Preakness full cards will be available next week. Thanks for everybody for watching and supporting my channel. And until my next video, good luck at the races.